work. You get to see multiple facets of the game come together, and it's cool to be able to look back and say, I created this. But at the same time, in a AAA game, there's this like reassuring feeling of knowing that you've learned to do what you're doing well, and you're only going to get better at it. I think that there's a lot to take away from both, and both are great experiences.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. My role's a little bit different since I do. My first job is like be the producer. Basically, you're the project manager of the team. So, the first part of my day will be, since I also live in the business, is answering emails with clients and keeping them up to date. Yeah, nit and gritty stuff. And then, we have meetings. Like I have like just quick meetings, like with the programmers and say, okay, where are we at? What's the plan for today? What are the features we're going to try to implement? Then the same thing with the artist. And just a side note, you were talking about UI earlier. Like the current game that we're working on, I think we did the UI for like 4 times.
Yeah,
it's just something that like you just keep on redoing because it doesn't feel right. So it's very impactful when a player plays the game. It's got to feel right and it's got to look right. So, and then we'll discuss like a future features that we want to add. And again, being like a small studio, you typically don't have. You may have like someone who has like a high level design, but then it's always like from a programmatic standpoint, what's your feedback? What's your thoughts? How can we make this game fun? And the same from the art perspective. Like everybody always contributes to the design, and then usually once all that's said and done, sometimes it's doing like marketing and social media stuff, and then it's I'm a firm believer. Maybe it's because how I got started. Like you gotta test. I'm spending hours just testing, making sure the bugs are out, making sure the game feels polished. Making sure that we're making enough progress each day so that like we can kind of hit our end goal and get the game shipped on time and a budget.
I bet each of you share a lot of your time actually putting on the hat of a hiring manager. You're probably looking through resumes or talking to people that might want to intern with you or be a part of shipping a video game. One of the tips that panelists always give about wanting to have a career in video games is you want to be a part of shipping some kind of title. You want to have your name either as part of a game jam. A game jam is when you get together with a group and you create a game over a weekend or over a short period of time. As something to show what you do, or your niche, your passion. For me, I can speak to the writing side. For any of you guys that want to be a writer for video games, the first thing that a hiring manager is going to ask you for is your samples. They want to know, what kind of writer are you? Do you like sci-fi? Do you like fantasy? What are the games that you want to write for? And so it's interesting that you can already have a resume ready to go for a hiring manager that describes, let's say, an environment that could fit right into your favorite game, like Fable or what have you. You want to do a weapon design. Maybe for Call of Duty, you're like, they're really lacking such and such weapons. So you write out this one-page format about what the weapon does. For species, you can create a new species that could fit right into World of Warcraft. The point is that you want to find your passion, what you want to write about, the games that you would want to work for, and then, change your samples, tweak your samples to fit, so that way when you walk into a convention like this and you meet video game developers that are also hiring managers, you can walk up and say, hey, I'm a video game writer, these are my samples, I'd love to talk to you about what I can offer or what you're working on. Do you have time to chat, or do you have an email I can contact you? And right there you've made a connection, you've defined who you are, you've defined what you want to do in the industry. Because a lot of times managers will tell me, it's hard when someone comes up and says, I want to work in games, but I'm not sure what. Because then it's hard for them to help, right? So it's really good to define that passion, define what you want to do. What do you guys think when you're put on that hiring manager hat? What do you look for? Certain schools, certain experience, samples? Adam or Alex, take it away. Alex, go ahead.
For me, the most important thing is content. What have you done? Have you gone down and made 3 video games? Do you have things to show me? Degree doesn't matter as much. It helps, of course. It's not going to hurt you to have a degree. It's only going to help. But the most important thing for me is to see content. If you've made 2 or 3 video games, then I'm going to believe you can make another one. If you claim that you've done user interface for a game and you can show me the game and I can play it, I'm a believer. And if you can replicate that work, that's great. So really, if I were to give advice to anyone about coming in with a resume, the best thing you can do for the resume is, even if it's homebrew games, even if you went home and you know, just grabbed one of the many awesome game engines that are available right now.
Name some of those so that everybody can hear them.
A couple of great ones if you're getting started, especially if you're like a brand new beginner to the game development field and everything like that, is Game Maker. You can get it for free. It's super easy. You don't need to have any direct programming skills. It'll actually teach you programming skills because of the way it works. It's like an interesting multimedia fusion system, and you can make 2D games in it fairly easily, following some tutorials that they have for you.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then another one would be Unity. Unity is a great game engine that's free that you can download, and it also has a seamless connection with C# and JavaScript, which is what you would use to program and functionality for the game environments and things like that. So those are two great things that you could hop into right now and start making games in. Even if they're just tutorial games, it's phenomenal to come in with something when you're first applying for a job in the field. Just show them, hey, I've made this game and I had to do these things, because that's what makes a difference in my opinion.
Adam?
Okay, so I just came up with this. I'm gonna call it the 3 Ps.
Nice, on the fly, right
First
there.
is projects. I was gonna say content.
Yeah,
So projects, just things that you've worked on, and again, what he was saying, it could be just personal projects, things you've done with the teams, game jams. Just show what you can do, basically. The next would be personality. That's huge, especially if you're going to work into a collaborative environment like video games. You need to make sure that that everybody gets along. So personality is a big one, and then passion. Because if you don't care about what you do, then you're not going to be good at it. You have to care about it. So I would say those are the 3 things.
I really like that. The 3 Ps. Personality, passion, and projects.
Yeah, and
Right.
honestly, I mean, coming from an art background, I don't care really where you go to school, you know, or how you got to where you're at. I just want to see, you know, what you can do, and just make sure that you gel with what you want.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do have a lot of parents that ask, you know, my kids want to go into video games. Should they go to a certain school? Should they do a certain curriculum? Because more and more schools actually are now offering very specific video game programs, like Full Sail for animation and things like that. Matt?
Yeah, well, first of all, this guy basically just stole. He touched on it like,
You just come to me first.
no,
You'll take it over.
Personality is huge. I mean, it's one thing, like, look, if you're going to apply for a programming job, you need to know how to, you know, it should just be like, you know, common sense. I know how to code. You don't need to be like an expert, but you should know the fundamentals. You should know the engines that, you know, whether it's Unity or Unreal or Game Maker, you should know that stuff. And if you're an artist, a technical artist, you should know Maya. You know, 3D Max, or Photoshop, whatever you do. But passion is an important one, because I would say that, like, whatever focus that you go in, you kind of have to look at it like you're an athlete, and every day you're going to want to, you know, practice and get better and better and better, because this is a very competitive industry. It just is, and there's a lot of people who want jobs. So, you know, it's one thing that us as, like, you know, employers have the kind of luxury is that we can, you know, we can choose, we have a lot of people apply that we can look at and say, test, and be very careful with who we want to hire. Because we want it's not a 9-to-5 job. It just isn't. Especially when you get towards the crunch time. You know, I'm sure you can all go read, you know, stories online, even especially on an indie level, where you're going to be putting in like 10, 12 hours a day, and you know, you may have to work on Saturday or Sunday, and you know, it's if you're passionate about it, it's not a big deal, because you're doing what you love. If you're not passionate about it, then you're it's a job, and it's, you know, maybe it's not for you. You know, maybe it's better just to keep it as a hobby, and then there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's perfectly fine.
Because especially as game developers, you guys have to balance being gamers yourselves and being the designers and developers. So you're trying to create a game that you love and that you hope other gamers will love, and you have to deal with both the praise of your games, but then also the backlash. Right. We all know that gamers, you know, there can be trolls, there can be flames that just ridicule games left and right. Yes?
I call it the Mass Effect 3 principle. For every one good comment, get 3 better back.
So for every one good comment he said, you'll see 3 bad, right? Yeah. So how, I think that's something that we should mention, just to think about as a career in video games. You have to have thick skin, I would imagine.
You definitely have to have thick skin. Yeah, like, look, you can work on a game for a year and throw it out there, and within 5 minutes, people are telling you it's the worst game they've ever seen, it sucks, go to hell. Like, you know, I mean, but like, you have to have thick skin, you have to understand that that's just that's the nature. And then you'll also get people who say, you know, we loved it, we really love your game. When you get those compliments and you see that, that's what makes it really rewarding. Like it's a really great feeling when you finally get a game out and you see other people enjoying it. It's just like it just motivates you to want to kind of like either put out updates and make it better or start the next one.
Sure, absolutely.
To piggyback on that, it really is about mental fortitude initially, but there's like so much reward when things actually happen and work out for you and the game gets released. I worked on a game with Zynga Sports that when the company got shut down, it fell through the cracks and was never released. So because of that, 6 months of my work technically didn't go to anything. And it was devastating. I was upset for a long time, but then you go back to work the next day, you get a new project, and now I'm working on several games that I'm very passionate about, and it's just the best feeling in the world when it actually gets released. And I mean, there's going to be some negative critiques, and sometimes your game might actually not be very good, but I mean, that's reality, but you learn. Right. And the next time you make a game, it might be very good, and the next time you make a game after that, it's going to be amazing,
Yeah, sorry.
No, yours.
No, I just I agree completely, and just a couple of things I forgot to mention.